So my Rockler roll around tabletop is working out quite well, but this side sort of isn't working for me. Now, when I put it together, I just added pegboard to the side. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with it. But this table has actually become my sanding spot where I do my pocket hole drilling, biscuit joining, things like that. And I have a lot of hardware up front. And I think all of this stuff could probably end up going in there. I have measuring tools in there that I can roll around to use any place. So I'm going to take this pegboard off, and inside here I have a little recess in there. And what I'm thinking of doing is actually making a spot for all of this stuff that's in this drawer right here. And these are my sanding discs. I have a lot of sanding discs for my sanders over there on that side. And I just want to go ahead and take these out of the drawer, make this drawer available for something else, and put them on here, and maybe even my regular sandpaper there to use with all of my sanding blocks that I have in here. So I think that's how I'm going to plan this out. So my first thing is to pull this off and go ahead and see what dimensions I'm working with. Take dimensions of all of my sanding discs, which should be 6-inch discs, and my sanding paper, which should be 8x10, and work from there and see how much I can pack in this side here and what type of function I can have out of it to, access the sanding paper and also put it away neatly and keep it away neatly. So let's see how I do. All right, so as you can see, I have this nice little alcove that I could probably put some nice storage for sanding paper and my disc in. And I think the way that I'm going to design it is so that the paper actually comes out this way, like this, rather, because I could make slots that go down that would be rather relatively easy, but then so would all the dust. The dust would end up going in here and getting all messed up. So I think I'm going to go ahead and make slots that go this direction out the side. So here we go. So at this point, I'm cutting my cross cuts for my side pieces. Now I'm ripping them to width for the sides and tops of the cabinet. Here I'm cutting the front and back pieces out of 1/4-inch plywood. These are going to be all of my separators for my sanding disc. And they're just made out of 1/8-inch hardboard. See, I have quite a few of them cutting to width and then to length. So I'm cross-cutting them all here now. And I found it a little bit easier to use my hand than the grabber, push block. And these are going to be my pieces, again, out of 1/8-inch hardboard for the sandpaper. So they're a little bit wider, about 7 inches. And now I'm going to cross-cut them to width to fit across the box once the groove is made. Measuring the side pieces to get the exact dado bit that I need and installing it into the router. I'm going to start making my cuts on the edge. Here I'm setting the height using a 1/4-inch bar. Now I'm cutting out the dados at the end, and this is finishing up the dado for the internal shelf that will separate the sandpaper. 5 1/8 inches will be plenty of height for the disc sandpaper to slide in easily. I'm cutting a 1/8 inch deep dado in the back panel and the door. Now I'm going to measure out the side pieces so that I know where my top or door piece will be. And it's just a straight little line across here for a reference point. Using the sandpaper sheets as a measurement, I can determine what my angle needs to be. Using my T-bevel, I set it to the same angle that the sandpaper sheets are sitting at and transfer that information onto each piece. So here I am doing my layout lines for the diagonal pieces that will be holding my sandpaper sheets. This layout is then duplicated on the other piece or the other side of the cabinet. Using the router and a fence, I follow the dados and proceed to cut them all out. After the box is glued up and the door is cut off, the hinge mortises are cut in, and this is what I'm doing right here. Now, because my blade is not the width of the hinges, I need to get rid of all the extra wood inside the mortise. An easy way to set up the depth of the hole to be drilled into the door is to place your drill bit on the door, go up to the top where your stop is. I place the magnet in between the stop and the stopping point, adjust the stop down, tighten it up, and now my drill bit will go in the exact depth of that magnet. Here I'm drilling out the holes, and as you can see, they go down just as far as that stop will allow it. And this is the depth of that particular magnet. So I end up with perfectly cut holes, the depth of the magnet. Now I'm sanding out my dividers for my disc sanders, and just to make it a little bit easier to grab onto them, I tape them all together so they have a uniform cut. And I start the process of gluing them in. Now I made them so that they fit somewhat snug, and I put my first piece in at the right angle, and that's basically the 5¼ inch. And I use a 1-inch PVC pipe as measurement between each of them. Once I get that measurement, I use super glue and accelerator to speed up the process. Now I found that once I was done with this was a very strong bond, and it easily held the sandpaper disc in place. Continuing along, I just continued this method until I was completed with all of the cross divider inserts that I needed. The next step in the process is to mix up some epoxy glue, which I will use to secure in the rare earth magnets that will keep the door closed. I use the magnet both at the top and bottom of the cabinet. The hinges go into the mortise that I cut earlier, and these are simply attached by using a self-centering bit to drill out the hole and then just screwing in the screws. Once all of the hinges are set, the door is able to close, and the latch system is basically just the strong rare earth magnets. Now, I didn't put any handle on this door because it's rather thin, but I do have a gap that makes it easy to grab onto and open when I'm trying to get inside. A screw is used to hold on the washer that the rare earth magnets use to attach. Next in the process to grind down those annoying screws that came through the thin door, I just used a Dremel and with a sanding disc drum on it to grind them down. And then for the finishing touch, I incorporated just a flat disc sander to make them smooth with the surface. Now the final touch of the cabinet is just to add some finish. This can just go into my cabinet unfinished, but I like to add at least a couple coats. I'm using Def Finish here, and it's nice and easy to use because there's no sanding between coats. I use throwaway brushes, so sometimes I do have an issue with the bristles coming off. So if you want to use a higher quality brush, you probably won't have that problem. Okay, so the final step in my process is to attach the cabinet into my roll-around Rockler table. And I did this just by using 2 screws into the back, into the 3/4 inch MDF that houses all of my drawers on the cabinet. Okay, so as you can see, I finished my sanding cabinet here and I've installed it inside my roll around cart. It works perfect for me. I put a door on the front of it to keep dust and stuff out, and also to make it so that if you wanted to build a sanding cabinet at home, you could. I have my disc sanders here, which work with I have 3 disc sanders on the other side there, orbital disc sanders, and I have all of my sandpaper here. I have all of my flat sandpaper here, which works with my sanding blocks, which are in the drawer here. So everything is together and compact. Now, this door, I use 2 rare earth magnets to keep it shut when it closes. If you want to make one for your wall or something like that, you could go a little bit thicker, and I'd recommend going a little bit thicker because you want to leave at least 1 inch on here to stiffen up this door quite a bit, and also make it so that these screws from the hinges don't come out. Now, I just ground them down and sanded them smooth, and for me, this works. I wanted to keep this door and this cabinet so that it didn't stick out too far on this, so when I walk around, I'm not bumping into it. But I think overall, this is going to work perfect for me. Have everything where I need it, and when I have used sandpaper, I can throw it back in the same grit, so I know exactly what it is, because you know how sandpaper just wears off on the back there, and you can't see the grit number after you use it once or twice. So if you like this, please give my video a like, and please subscribe. I will have more of these projects coming out very soon. And other than that, enjoy.